Hello my friends and welcome. Let's start from the good news from Avdiivka region. Russia tries to advance to Lostochkine, to the local village, but their advancement today failed. We have the confirmation about it. I already shared it on my Telegram channel. By the way, you may check it out in the video description below. There I published the full videos from the front lines as they are. Here I can just show you them partially with some of the censorship. Totally in this unsuccessful Russian attack attempt, they lost 7 of the BMPs and 1 of the tank. As usual, Russia put their infantry on the top of their vehicles, creating the biological armor. This is all called Afghan ride for the Russian army. The thing is that the bottom of the vehicle is not really able to withstand the mine explosions, as well as, for example, Western-made vehicles like Bradleys, or if we speak about the wheeled vehicles, Bushmasters, something like that. For this reason, the Soviet soldiers in Afghanistan like to travel on top of the vehicle rather than inside. The chances for survival are greater in this configuration. But if we scroll up here a little, you'll see that this vehicle was totally kaputted with infantry even on top, because the explosion was really powerful. We have the geolocation from the deep state military map. Indeed, Russia tried to advance towards Lostochkine. We have the south vector through this field road, and here's their main goal, but as usual the first Russian mid-waves are just gone. The thing is that they do have many more resources compared to Ukraine, so they will try one more attempt, then one more. This is their mid-wave tactics. Here we go with the other military map. You may see the Russian actions in Avdiivka region, and their vector is towards Lostochkine right now, and this assault is not successful for them. Speaking about the Avdiivka battle aftermath, indeed Ukraine withdrew the forces, I would say, quite late. What I don't like that even for my incompetence opinion, I thought that it's better to withdraw from Avdiivka well before, especially when I spoke about this part, and finally our soldiers were captured by the Russians and Russians killed them. And the withdrawal of the army in general from Avdiivka wasn't organized properly. Those are not my words. We have this information on the Western media sources. For example, according to the New York Times article, hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers could be imprisoned by Russians during the retreat from Avdiivka. NYT relies to the officials in the Western military. Those officials say that the withdrawal of the forces was poorly planned and it was too late. The situation got worse when the Russian forces tried to encircle the city from 3 of the directions. Plus, there were communication problems between the units during the retreat. That is why many of the soldiers were encircled and went to the Russian prison, so were imprisoned by Russian forces. Indeed, I checked out lots of the Russian Telegram channels, and they filmed the videos with the Ukrainian soldiers whom they were able to imprison, but I didn't count like hundreds of them, no, a little bit more than 10. At the same time, Ukrainian officials deny those accusations, but I would rather believe Western media sources than Ukrainian media sources after all. Because our guys from the 3rd Assault Brigade who were fighting somewhere in the plant and also in this area said that they were encircled partially by the Russian forces and they had to get out with actual fight. They also had some losses, but obviously in general Russian army has many more losses compared to the Ukrainian army in Avdiivka. Their own sources and military bloggers say that they lost around 17,000 KIA in this operation, and with wounded personnel it's more than 40,000. So tremendous loss for the Russian army, even more than in Bakhmut, taking in account that there were mostly Russian regular soldiers, not the prisoners as it was in Bakhmut. Those losses for Russia are very severe. But the thing is, even though Ukrainian withdrawal operation was conducted very late, as many experts say, still Ukraine was able to evacuate the major group of Ukrainian soldiers stated in Avdiivka safely. Yes, with losses, with some of them being imprisoned by Russians, but still they made it out, so it's not a second Bakhmut as per Russian side says. During all of that massive Russian assault to Avdiivka, they were able to capture just a single tank T-64 and 1 Bradley. The tank was disabled and Bradley too, so later on Russians evacuated Bradley. As you can see, it's in lack of the track. It means that it was damaged by mine or something. It is the second Bradley that Russia was able to capture in this war. And now the battle will be for the local villages. For now, it's Lostochkine, where Russia faced with resistance, so Ukraine withdrew the forces till some point and now in active defense. We saw it from the first news of today. But it wasn't the only failure of the Russian attack near to Lasishkine. Also, they tried to advance near to Vuhledar. Vuhledar is located on the south of Donetsk Oblast. Russia tries to reach this small town. Since the last winter, they already lost many of the vehicles, tanks and BMPs over there, and today they added even more. Here we go with this source and let's check out the images. As you can see, the classical picture for the Russian tank, the turret separation, all of the shells inside exploded, pushing this turret away. And here you can see a Russian flag. And also the foul mark on the side. Here we have probably BMP-2 completely kaputted, and I believe it's the tank from the first picture, that is the BMP-2 that I called, and one more BMP. This is the BMP from the close perspective, so Ukraine continued to use the FPV drones to target the Russian armored vehicles, tanks, and you see it works fine. We have one more tank, probably it is T-72. And here we have the turret from the other tank. This is the part of the tank or BMP, so completely vanished. Oh no, after all, I think it's the BMP-3, so it was finished by Ukrainian drones out there. And this is the MTLB from what I can see. And one more BMP. So definitely Russia lost many of the vehicles and tanks in their failed attempt to get Vuhledar under control. We even have the video from the Ukrainian soldier who managed to get to the place. He filmed this tank of the Russian forces that was significantly damaged, so probably Ukraine will evacuate it to repair. The tank was the first one in assault convoy, and as you can see, it has the installed demining plug on the front. We also have the sad news from the place. After the Russian attack was ambushed, Ukraine tried to counterattack the local defense line and lost the Max Pro vehicle. I'm out of clue whether the infantry was inside. It looks like our guys left the vehicle because the door is open, so probably they went on assault, then the vehicle was targeted by the Russian forces. And I don't know the destiny of our guys who landed there. Probably they were evacuated. I hope for that. We have the confirmation about this failed attack from the Myko 73. He stated and confirmed that Russia lost many of the vehicles. We have the drone video confirmation and photo confirmation from the place. Judging on this military map, I wouldn't say that Russia attacked towards Vuhledar because Vuhledar is over here, so they attack in the Vuhledar direction, the Vuhledar area in general. Later on, Russians sent the second mid-wave to attack Ukrainian positions, but all of those forces were ambushed by Ukraine. Ukraine was already for the second attempt, ambushing the Russian forces left and right. We have some interesting news from the Russian-occupied village Trudivske. There is the Russian military base located, or it's better to say was located, because it was HIMARS today. Yet I do not have the direct video to show you, it hasn't been published, but we know for sure that it happened because Russian military bloggers are really angry about it. I know Russian, so I can translate. Today at 9 o'clock there was the HIMARS attack on the Russian facility of the 39th Separate Rifle Brigade. This is the number of their unit. The shells went to the place at the moment, then the commander gathered everyone outside the building. The outcome, 65 people KA and many more wounded. They do not say the exact number of the wounded personnel. Sorry guys, we have the translation in English, so you may check it out yourself. For the tragedy, Russians blame Oleg Lvovich Moiseev. That's the name of the mayor who is the commander of the unit. It was his idea to put all of the Russian soldiers in a single line to film them for some of the propaganda video. Well, hopefully this movie will be shared on internet. We want to see it for sure. Alright, I have just received the video from the place. Actually, it wasn't the Russian base. Russian soldiers were just put in a single line, open field for some reason, and HIMARS attacked them. So I'm unable to share the photos with you from the place, but I'll share them on my Telegram. Here we'll see just this video.
Вон, сука, достроили пидорасы, блядь.
Building them in lines was a bad thing, he says.
В чистом поле, нахуй. Ебаные, нахуй.
So he condemns that it happened and blames the commander that he put everyone in line, open field.
Командиры. Всю роту расхуярили. Походу 4-я. Так она и 6-я там, ебаный в рот, там пизда народу.
He said that most of them just kaputted from 2 of the units.
Просто пиздец. Вот 4-я рота полностью лежит.
Everyone is lying there. Probably they were like guards of this area. They were in the forest line. That's why they survived. But all of those who were in the line, they all kaputted. Meanwhile, the Russian Offense Minister Shoigu met with President of Russia Putin. He stated that Russian forces went to Krinky and returned the control over the settlement fully, but still there are some of the local clashes with some of the Ukrainian forces left. So did they liberate Krinky or not? I didn't understand from his speech, because definitely it's something strange he's saying, like we liberated Krinky, but there are some of the Ukrainian forces. Was it really a liberation as they say it? Later on, this video appeared in the internet showing the Russian flag and the flag of the Russian Marines. Somewhere. Where it was filmed, I'm out of clue, but they say that it is Krinky, in one of the ruins of some of the buildings. Well, actually it could be Krinky, because Russia still keeps control over the central part of the Krinky village. Here we go with Krinky, so this is the Russian side and this is the Ukrainian controlled territory. Yes, Russians are very close, but still they're not able to establish their control fully over this settlement. Moreover, just not long time ago, around 3 days ago, Ukraine started the offensive to the south. Even the Russian military bloggers were very surprised about Shoigu's statement. They say that it's not true. The fight for the Krinky continues. However, I might say that if Russia regroups enough forces, they might take all this part under their control again. At least we should be ready for those not good news for Ukraine, but for today, Shoigu is lying. In their turn, Russians published this map showing that indeed Ukraine controls the part of the Krinky village. Russians say that local soldiers are unable to confirm that definitely Russian army captured all of the place and went to the local river, as Shoigu says. Moreover, the statement of Shoigu that Russian forces took control over Krinky and at the same time are fighting in the basements with the Ukrainian forces contradict each other. What is the reason for Shoigu to run ahead of the train? We are out of clue, Russian military bloggers say. But probably after the Russian success in Avdiivka, no one will put attention on this bullshit. It means that Krinky is under control and Putin gets unreliable information from his commanders. But Putin is blind because he is not using internet and he communicates through the phones or through the papers, that's it. I wonder what Putin would say to Shoigu if Ukraine somehow sent reinforcements and started the massive assault from Krinky. But obviously for Ukraine it's a very hard spot. It's very difficult for our Marines to defend this area. At this moment we are not speaking about any sort of defensive actions. First of all, because the logistics is very hard. Guys, indeed we have the confirmation that Russia put their flag in Krinky. Just see at this Russian flag that I showed you before. But there is one big but. Let's see the full video. Russians put the flag and start to run away. This is their achievement, to approach to one of the first buildings in the area and run as fast as you can. Just run. That's how they took Krinky today. Oh my god, and this was reported to Vladimir Putin, the greatest Russian achievement. This video shows how Ukraine is using the FPV drones against the Russian units in the ammunition warehouse. So here are some of the supply trucks, one of the tanks and one Terminator, quite rare Russian vehicle that is based on a tank, but it has two of the big cannons, mainly used against the BMPs, so it was targeted over there, and Ukraine sent many of the other drones to target T-72 tanks and what was left, BMP-3, quite modern Russian BMP, and finally everything of that was kaputted. Hard to say where it was done, but not more than 10 kilometers from the front lines, because usually FPV drones have the range of 10 kilometers. Let's go to the other news. Those are our Polish brothers, so-called farmers, on protests against the Ukrainian grain. On this John Deere tractor you may see a communist flag, and the banner says Putin will deal with Ukraine, Brussels and our government. The good news that after all this guy was arrested, but it's good actually that he shows this banner. We now understand what is inside the heads of those protesters. Just one shows it, but in general they hate Ukraine, they hate European Union, so I hate them too. Here on a video they show that Poland is not a Brussels, we do not support Ukraine. Well, hell it be. They're not only blocking the roads, but also blocking the railroads, putting Ukrainian grain on the ground. But the Polish president doesn't care. He says that those farmers have the right to protest. The problem is that the protest went totally out of control. They're blocking the infrastructure in Poland, they're blocking roads, they're blocking Ukrainian transport, they're blocking the military help to Ukraine. All of that is illegal. If the border control and customs gives the green light for Ukrainian transport with products to go, it means that it is legal, and the actions to stop it should be illegal. But the Polish government thinks differently. Polish farmers are totally key to receive subsidies from the European Union, but they are not obeying the legislation of the European Union. So why Poland is in the European Union if it blocks all of the European initiatives? They are letting so-called farmers to act at will, and they do illegal stuff, while Poland you'll receive a backfire in that case. I just want to show you some of the geography lessons. So this is Poland, this is Lithuania, and this is Belarus. And this is Russia, Kaliningrad Oblast. And here we have a Suwalki corridor, so-called, which according to the Russian propaganda media and their officials, they're willing to take under control to create the corridor basically between the Russian side and Belarus, which we already consider as the part of Russia, integrated into the Union. So Polish government, do not be surprised then the same protesters will go to this place and protest against something. They'll come out with some idea, but it will be a political protest, and if you try to get rid of them, well, they'll call their brothers to secure them, to rescue, as Russians say. By not seizing those anti-Ukrainian protests in Poland right now, the Polish government opens a Pandora box for the future possible war with Russia. The Telegraph media source already said about this possible scenario, so it's not my original idea. And if you think that Russia doesn't have enough resources for the fight with NATO or Poland, no, they do have. They produce new weaponry, but they do not use those in Ukraine. Why? Maybe they are getting ready for something bigger. So as for me, it's a very stupid way to block your buffer country, which is now Ukraine, who fights against the direct aggression towards not just for Ukraine, but all of the neighboring countries. If Ukraine fails, Russia will be at the border. We know it from the Tucker Carlson Putin's interview that Putin sees Ukraine as the Russian Empire, the part of Russia. So the border will be here. And just recall how many times Putin said about Poland in his interview. Poland, Poland, Poland. I would say even more compared to Ukraine at some point. But it seems like politicians are very stupid to understand this global threat. Some information from CNN about the ballistic missiles from the North Korea. They say the legit information this time that British research organization found out that 75% of all of the control components of the missile were made in the United States or the companies that were registered in the United States. 16% of the components are affiliated with European countries and the rest with Asian countries. Yes, this is the North Korean missile, which is under the sanctions for a very long time, and you may come out with your own conclusions about it. Mine is that sanctions do not work. The air defense was very successful this night for Ukraine. All of the 23 of the Shahed drones were shot down. So far the best result this month, so Ukraine developed the tactics to get rid of this threat, mostly. I think that it could also be implemented into the Western armies. I believe they already researched the topic because many of the American bases are under the constant drone attacks. Right guys, I have just received a recent update. So Russia advances towards Pobeda over here and the gray area expanded for today. So the next fighting point could be somewhere near to this place. Finally, they want to get to Grahava, but the distance from their current positions is around 15 kilometers, so they may try to advance after all. But here are lots of the villages where Ukraine may position mortars and artillery to target the Russian advancing forces, so for them it's not the easy walk. And we have the update from Robotina. It's kind of the strange update. I don't know what is happening out there. I believe that finally Russians were able to advance like that, and this is the gray area. I expect that in the coming days Russia will launch the massive attack on Robotina, attacking this village from all of the sides possible, and in general their logic is to take all this territory under their control and continue the attack forward into the Zaporizhia Oblast. As you can see, for this day, Russia took the initiative on the front lines. Ukraine is unable to counterattack because we are in lack of the resources. So my friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine. Now don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. You may support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship of this video, if you're willing to do so, obviously. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.